Well, the final version of the GOP tax bill would create 7 tax brackets. Take a look at them. They start at a rate of 10%, rise to 12, 22, 24, 32, 35, and 37%. Now, we've been hearing from President Trump and the Republicans that simplification is important to them. But are 7 brackets simplifying the tax code and with all sort of deductions enjoyed by the middle class going away? How can the president continue to claim that this is a tax cut for all? To talk about those questions, Republican Congressman from Arizona, David Schweikert, joins us. He's also on the House Ways and Means Committee to tell us more. Great to have you with us tonight, Congressman.
No, I appreciate you having me.
Okay, so let's start with, not surprising, there's criticism all over the left. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi says this: the GOP's tax scam, theft from middle-class families to give the wealthiest, is a moral obscenity. Your response?
Look, I understand the left is so desperate not for Republicans not to have a victory. I wish they could actually sort of think about what's great for the country instead of their politics. Yeah, we're in a really tough position in the United States. In about a decade and a half, we start to hit the wall because of entitlement costs and our borrowing costs and the amount of debt we will be carrying. If we can get this economy growing and hold that growth for a decade, many of the very programs the members on the left claim they support and want to protect will be okay. But we desperately must have that economic growth, and tax reform is one of the ways you get there.
Okay, so we have tonight someone on the right who says he's not going to vote for this. Your colleague, Representative Zeldin, he's a Republican from New York. For folks who may not know him, he says this about the bill. He says he's going to be a no vote. He says there was a massive missed opportunity here to fix this bill for millions of Americans who also desperately needed tax relief and ended up getting screwed by the handicap of rigid ideological blinders and a countdown clock that really wasn't yet at zero.
Look, Zeldin is a good guy, but the fact of the matter is I believe he's wrong on the math. Even his constituents, the mean will get actually a tax reduction. But there's some really tough calculations. Do you do what's good for the country, or do you do what's good for certain small groups? And do you make tax decisions that are great politics or really good for economic growth? And a lot of the battle here was, how do you do things that you're going to have to do to get the votes, but maximize economic growth? And when you and I talk about the deductibility of state and local taxes, they're very important to folks who live in high tax areas. But when you calculate their effect on economic growth, it's almost zero. When those monies could be put into other areas in the tax code that actually everyone will benefit from, because we'll have a bigger economy.
Okay, so I know that's the message, but we've talked about this poll earlier this week, the Marist poll, that shows 52% of those polled think the tax bill will mostly hurt their personal family finances. So where has the messaging on this gone wrong?
Look, remember in 1986, right after the last time we did this, 31 years ago, the Reagan tax bill had only an 18% favorable. When you've actually been grinding through sort of crazy talk, and I'm sorry to phrase it that way, but if you think about the left's sort of systematic drum beating of propaganda, and even though the propaganda has been all over, rich people need to pay more except for our rich people. They've been all over the board, but we live in somewhat of a toxic environment. I'm hoping actually Americans who actually care about tax policy or what this means to their families will spend part of this weekend reading over it. I believe they'll be pleased.
Well, there's a lot of material out there, and we always think it's good to do your own homework and separate fact from fiction. We try to do that here as well. Congressman Schweikert, thank you very much for your time on this Friday night.
No, thank you for having me.